Hey class. All right, I just want to take a minute to show you really a nice little trick. If you have a Windows 10 computer, so a PC with Windows 10 installed, you can actually split your screen up into 4 sections. And where this is going to be helpful is in your Unit 10 homework, you're going to, and also, of course, in your Unit 10 quiz, you're going to actually see a mixture of exercises that involve confidence intervals for means, where you would use the worksheet provided to you last week that says confidence intervals for means. And you're also going to see problems that involve confidence intervals for proportions. And you've had a worksheet provided for that. It looks very much the same, but at the top, you would see where it says confidence intervals for proportions. So proportions right there, whereas the other one said means. Otherwise, they look just the same. This one says Unit 9 for means, and the one with proportions says Unit 10. Well, it's actually going to be helpful to have both of those open while you're working on your MSL exercises this week, because you've got both that'll be coming up. And rather than having to continue to minimize, close out, open back up, which you can do, it's just, it's a little bit tedious. I was going to show y'all that if you have Windows 10, you can actually just split your screen. If you have an earlier version of Windows, you can split your screen, but I think it only lets you split it up into left and right side rather than 4 sections. So you can still try it. I just don't think you're going to get past splitting it just up, into 2 sections. All right, so let me go ahead and show you first. On your screen, you see the Unit 9 worksheet. Well, I am going to click the Windows button on the keyboard, and that is just that banner button just to the left of your Alt button. So if you look at the Alt button and look to the left, you should see the little Windows button. And I want you to click on that, but while you're clicking on it, keep pressing it down and then press your left arrow. And you have your arrow buttons all the way over or towards the right-hand side of your keyboard, real near the Shift button. So remember, you're going to press the Windows button down, which is the button just to the left of Alt. And you're going to keep pressing it down while you then press the left arrow key. So I'm going to do that. Pressing Windows, keep holding it down, press left arrow. And you will notice that it moved the Unit 9 worksheet to take up just the left half of the screen. These things that it's showing over here to the right are things that are actually in my tray that I'm getting ready to move to where I want them. All right, so now I'm going to take this Unit 10 confidence interval worksheet that you see, one of these smaller ones over here to the right, and I'm going to click on it so that it opens this up. And notice it automatically makes it the right-hand side of the screen. But somewhere I need my MSL exercises in front of me. So what I'm going to do here with this, the Unit 10 interval worksheet, click on it up here to make sure it's the one that's activated. And I'm now going to actually click on the Windows button just to the left of Alt. But now I'm going to press the down arrow. So Windows, keep it pressed down, down. Notice it moved it down. And while I'm still holding down the Windows button, I'm now going to press the left key, the left arrow. And notice now, I've got both worksheets split on the left-hand side. And what I'm now going to do is go down to my tray, find the MSL questions, and click on that. Click on the tray where I see my MSL questions. And notice I'm ready to go. I've got my MSL Unit 10 lab homework open on the right-hand side. And I've got, and I can even slide this, click the Unit 10 up here, slide it up just a little bit to where both of these are fitting on my screen nicely. And so I'm ready to go. And I can just now look at a problem. Problem number 1 says, assume you want to construct a 95% confidence interval estimate of a population mean. Notice the word mean. Find an estimate of the sample size needed to obtain the specified margin of error. They give you the sample standard deviation. All right, so this one is asking me to find sample size for a mean. You're going to have to read carefully this week, looking out for whether the problem is for means or proportions. So I can very easily, handily go over here to my upper left where it's my means worksheet. This is the kind where I'm trying to find out how many in a sample, required sample size. So all I would have to do is put in my margin of error and my standard deviation. And I'm not going to use these same numbers just because in case you get the same the same problem, which, you know, is not likely, but you might. So I'm just going to make up, say over here, a margin of error of 4 instead of 3. And notice when I click on that, it actually made my Unit 10 worksheet disappear. If that happens, you can always get it back by just clicking on it down in the tray, and it should bring it back. It really should actually leave it stationary. What I'm going to do is make sure I just click the Windows banner button again and move it left just to make sure, yep, it's actually clicking around. So it's not perfect. You may have better luck than I'm having, but you certainly at least can have a split screen if the left screen's not working. Yeah, I don't know why all right, I think it's got now the Unit 10 up here. Let me go ahead and try pressing it down and see if it splits it. Yeah, it's just kind of a little finicky. So you have to kind of keep making sure that it's got both the Unit 9 and the Unit 10. But anyway, what I was going to show you is if I come over here, I'm going to make up a margin of error of, say, 4. So I'll put a 4 in there. And I need to drag this down. Notice I put my mouse, I'm going to drag it down just a little bit. And I also have to put in the standard deviation. It gave me a standard deviation of 23 over here. I'm going to make up something different. I'll put in like 33 instead. And press enter, and notice it's given me my how many in a sample. Sample size would be 273, and you, of course, would put that in and just keep on rolling along. You know, that's not the correct answer for this one because I made up my numbers. But point being is, you know, once you finish one problem and then you move on to the next problem, read carefully whether it's for means or proportions. This is another sample size one. So you just go over here, delete the numbers from the previous exercise, plug in what you need. This one's almost just like the previous problem. So you go back to the confidence interval for means worksheet. And this is also required sample size. I'm looking for my keywords. This one also says population mean. So all the 3 of these are very similar. I wanted to get to one that was a little bit different. Yeah, all of these are very, very similar. All right, this now is wanting a confidence interval, but still for the average or the mean. So I'm still using the top part, but now it's asking for the confidence interval. So I would have to put in my sample size. It says a sample of 50, and I'm not going to use the same number, but you know, you would just put in sample size, whatever. Maybe it's a sample size of 60. And then it gives you the sample mean weight, 5.667. Well, I'm going to make up something a little bit different and put in like 5.787. And then it gives you your standard deviation, 0.067. I'll just put in 0.077. It says put the margin of error if given. This one does not give me the margin of error. It's not a sample size question. So all you do once you enter your numbers is press enter, and you've got your margin of error and your confidence interval. Now, as for the mean weight of all quarters is approximately, well, you're just going to estimate that with your sample mean. So that's just the, you know, sample mean answer. But once you put that in and keep clicking, it's going to eventually want you to put in maybe your margin of error and your confidence interval. So the worksheet just makes it easy to get through these tedious calculations. And then you would click on go, and a lot of these at the beginning are about means, and you can tell you'll be using that Unit 9 worksheet. Oh yeah, and I wanted to go back here and show you. All right, then another nice thing. When you get to the kind where you have to actually do your own calculations of mean and standard deviation, you know, this is the kind where, notice all they gave you was the question, find a 95% confidence interval for the mean, so it's another one for means. But they didn't give you the mean and the standard deviation. So you have to click on the table. We can tell there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So we know our sample size is 14, but they've given us the raw data. So we've got to go ahead and calculate our sample mean and sample standard deviation so that we could then come over here and put it in the boxes like we need to and then construct our confidence interval. Well, even with a split screen, you can go ahead and click your icon here, your shadow box, open in Excel. It's putting it down here, so let me open it up. And notice it's still leaving my screen split. I can just sort of slide this over kind of right here and go ahead and start doing my equals average, which is going to calculate my mean. Scroll down, finish that off, press enter. There's my mean. Equals standard deviation. Make sure you do the one .s for sample. Open parentheses, click and drag down that. And you've already got your numbers that all you would have to do is come right over here while you've got your split screen, delete those from the previous problem, and you can type in the mean of 230 right here in the sample mean box and the standard deviation right here, and you already knew your sample size was 14. Put that in the top box, and then press enter, and on the left-hand side of your screen, it's going to go ahead and do your calculations. Then you can just X this thing out. Want to save it? Nope, I don't need to save that Excel spreadsheet. Point being, it keeps everything nicely split up on your screen. So, you know, it was a little tweaky at first where I had to get it straight on over here on the left, but it's doable to get these split screens that are nice. Then you keep on moving from problem to problem. I think eventually we'll get to something on proportions. Yes, here finally. All right, so notice now population proportion is going to be estimated. Find the margin of error and the confidence interval, but now they give you the sample proportion. So because of my split screen setup, I can now just slide this one up a little bit. So let me go ahead and slide this up, click on that, slide this up a little bit. And now I've got my confidence interval for proportion screen already set up. So, you know, you're going to put in, I'm going to make up a different number, but sample size here was 225. I'll just put in 265. Sample proportion 0.28. I'm just going to make up something different. Suppose it's 0.38. Press enter, and you have your margin of error that they're asking for. You know, just be careful with rounding 4 decimal places, so you'll have to round these numbers from the worksheets. And then it gives you your interval, lower bound and upper bound, which I'm sure is going to be the next question after you fill in your margin of error. So it's just a nice trick if you want to have everything all on your screen at one time and be able to use the worksheets to get through the calculations pretty easily, but not have to keep switching back and forth from the worksheets. Even though, honestly, they're kind of in order a little bit. I can't promise that the whole thing's going to be in order like this. So, you know, if you want to just do a left-right split screen rather than a, you know, top-bottom and then the right screen, totally up to y'all. But I just, in case you didn't know that that was an automatic feature of Windows 10, I just wanted to at least show you all that so y'all could have the benefits of a split screen if you needed to. So hope that's helpful if you are interested in doing that split screen.